We have sound? Oh, yes, we do. I guess we're starting. Welcome. The opera opens tonight. Is anybody going? Yeah. I know they had a great performance last week. So we have a couple of things for you today. First of all, just some announcements from me or some reminders. I still have people sending me messages that they can't find the course in Blackboard, which is a little concerning because, you know, we're almost at the halfway point. But if that's the situation for you, just remember to scroll all the way down, because for some reason our class got put all at the bottom of your list, like past old semesters and everything. I promise you it's there if you're registered. So just scroll all the way down, and then you can star it, and it'll move it to the top, and it'll be there. You need to be checking every week in Blackboard to see your points. It's always possible that we made a mistake in translating the card swiper to Blackboard, and if we did, we need you to let us know so we can correct that as soon as possible. So please check your points and see that they're all there, that you expect them to be there. Another thing is the Wednesday events that we've been hosting have been so great, and they've been really, really well attended, and lots of free lunches and everything. They're great, but I do realize a lot of people do have conflicts with that Wednesday time. And I am working right now on getting some videos available for you. So by spring break, there will be some options for you to earn points. For those of you who are not able to attend, you got it. I got you. I've been waiting on the videos. You guys know Dottie Allen. We love her, but she's very, very busy. So she's almost finished getting those videos ready to send to me. And as soon as I get them, I will post those, and you can just take the quiz like we did last semester and get some points that way. Okay. So we have a couple things on deck for today. We're going to have a presentation from the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning, but first we have a presentation by your diversity, equity, and inclusion folks. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Brigida Johnson.
All right, I just had to check with Lauren to make sure. I said, do you have a quiz for this? So since this will actually go a little quicker since you don't have a connected quiz, because sometimes when we do these things, we give you guys quizzes and homework and things to do. But my name is Dr. Brigida Johnson. I am an associate professor of ethnomusicology. I think some of you may have seen me or met me at some point. And I'm also our School of Music's Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And we have one here in the School of Music. And basically, how's the first year going? You guys, I was gonna say welcome, but you've been here almost a whole year, so you're probably ready for spring break at this point. You're learning where all the bathrooms are. That's awesome. So basically, what the student reps tonight, because I'm not here alone, I'll be joined by our undergraduate and graduate student reps today. We wanted to come out and say hello, introduce ourselves, give you some resources for DEI on the campus as well as the School of Music, and also just, you know, put faces to names. So, let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go. Awesome. We want to do a fancy prezi, but we're all busy. So we're going to go back old school with this PowerPoint. So this is going to be our stops on today's journey. And basically who our committee members are. We have students, staff, and faculty members of the DEI committee. So here they are with a wonderful flyer actually made by our very own Jonathan Ritchie. Our staff members or staff representatives are Jennifer Mitchell, she's in the front office but also works with admissions. Caroline Earp, she's in development. Some of you may not have seen her because a lot of the development people are in Coker now. Also, our faculty representatives are Dr. Colleen Clark and Dr. Danny Jenkins. And of course, last but not the least, our awesome student reps. Our undergraduate rep is Jonathan Ritchie, as well as our graduate rep, Leah Sneed. So these are kind of our team, and our diversity and inclusion committee, as well as the position I currently hold, was initiated back in 2017, the fall of 2017. So kind of recent, but not as recent as some would think. And that was back when our past provost, Dr. Joan Gable, came in and people were asking about what we could do about DEI on the campus. And the main thing they noticed is that it was so uneven around the campus. Some colleges had deans, some didn't have anything, some people had committees. Some people had committees with no power, no infrastructure, no support. And so she came in and basically established that every unit on campus would have a DEI dean, and in some cases, DEI deans as well as support staff and committees. And so that's how we came to be in 2017. So in addition to looking at areas of, student population, enrollment, staff, and everything else. They were also looking at other types of backgrounds, not just race and ethnicity, but also areas like gender, sexuality, nationality, class, gender expression, those types of backgrounds, age in some cases, abilities, all these are areas of DEI. And so they wanted to make sure we were actually, tending to those things, also doing it with equity, equitable kind of looking at and paying attention. Sometimes we see diversity and inclusion, but in that last little piece, equity comes into play to kind of actually that extra step to make sure that we are only inclusive and diverse, but also the people who are here feel like they have opportunities and resources they can have to survive or to succeed, or have, in some cases, accounting for historic inequities that we have in our society and sometimes on our campus. So I'm gonna do a little graphic. This is not gonna be long. Sometimes people say, well, what does DEI mean? What does the equity mean? Of course, we know about diversity and diverse people being at the table and inclusion and people feeling like they can come in, but equity is that next step where we're talking about resources and people having and accounting for either disparities, or in the case of this particular graphic, looking at how equitable means works in communities, how you proportionately make sure people are getting what they need as far as resources and representation. So this little graphic from Robert Johnson Foundation really breaks down when people talk about equality versus equity, is not that everyone gets the bike, they get a bike that works for them in their situation. So this is a pretty good quick visual on what we talk about when we say equity in these particular cases, where the actual fit of resources fits the person's needs, it fits their, in some cases, advantages or disadvantages. So a little bit of that, but another aspect of my job as Associate Dean is more meetings. More meetings. When you move up into these positions, you get more meetings. But seriously, being able to represent the School of Music, I get to see how we're looking at DEI on various levels, not just here in our building, but across campus. And so, as I mentioned before, I get to meet with other diversity officers around the campus on a monthly basis. I also get to meet with Dean Harding on a weekly basis. Every Tuesday, we're in a meeting with all the associate deans, so we get a lot of face time. So when people have issues, we get to bring them to people in control or people with influence and power on campus really quickly. And so one of the groups that I meet with, as I mentioned before, is the Council of Academic Diversity Officers. And we also meet with our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which has a vice president. So some people may have seen Julian Williams. He was hired probably a year or two before you guys came into USC. And we have our first official person who's hired to actually look at DEI on a campus level. He actually works with Provost Arnett, as well as he's a part of the president's cabinet, President Amarides. And so in this case, a lot of times people see DEI officers with no power, no influence, no budgets, no staff. In this case, we have an actual staffed office of DEI on campus, and Julian meets with the Council of Diversity Officers and the president. So when things happen on campus, either with student protests or resources or anything students and faculty need, he's kind of on the front lines with that with his team, and we usually meet with him as well. So really trying to make this expand how we think about DEI at USC and really get into all the nooks and crannies, the things we're doing well, as well as the things we're trying to work on and get better on in the future. So some history about our School of Music. Highlights. When we started our committee back in 2017, we were just hitting the ground running. We didn't really have any kind of precedence about what it would look like for the School of Music, because by and large, we wanted to see what the School of Music needed. And so when I became interim associate dean in 2020, we were really looking at what could we do next? What does the school need? And having those representatives from staff and faculty, as well as students, helped us kind of meet some immediate goals. So this is like a little highlight reel of what we got to accomplish, as opposed to someone on the top of the campus or in the president's office saying, music must do this. We were looking around saying, what do we need? And so in this case, our committee formed in 2017. If you guys know Ron Davis, he's a senior faculty here. He was the first associate dean of DEI. And we said we had to have representation on all levels. And of course, in 2018, one of our student reps said, hey, we have some students here who need gender-neutral bathrooms. We don't have those here. And so we got on it really quickly. There was lots of red tape. Margie Ziegler helped us cut some of that red tape, and the students were like, we want this now. And the campus was like, well, you guys have to pay for it. And they said, well, we'll do it. And so a lot of our sororities and fraternities raised some money one weekend, and we got the signs. And so now on our second floor, we have gender-neutral restrooms. And so things that were very important to the students at that time is that we were able to get off the ground. So Other things, updating our job listings. So when you come in now and see a more diverse faculty, it's because we got in that meeting and said, well, we need to give more job openings and job announcements to other types of people. Don't send it to the same companies, the same schools, the same journals. You have to find people of color and people from different backgrounds. And so we did that, and of course, the fruits of that 4 or 5 years later is a more diverse faculty along all these lines. In 2020, if you guys remember that year, it's a lot of talk about racial injustice, violence in the communities, particularly unarmed people being murdered. We basically penned a statement against injustice in the summertime, got together and said, what do we want to say? And of course, other things like the Garnet Ebony Fund, which I'll talk about in a second, came to be, but also programming. We wanted to really make sure that when we had events like the Martin Luther King Jr. Events every year, they weren't just hiring us to play cocktail parties. That happens a lot. We need some music. And so, no, we want to do something different. And so when Julian came along, he said, no, we want you guys to program something. If you want to produce something, put something together, we'll pay your students, and they can produce something. And so we actually had virtual events where we were allowed to, we had a undergraduate student who came together, put his band together, went off to Lugoff and actually did a concert video film. And the Office of DEI actually funded it. They had special effects, smoke machines, we streamed it live, we had talkbacks for them, and so they're able to do what they really do and put that at front and center and not in the background. And of course, you may have seen the boards going through the building, the Social Justice Awards. We have started back in 2021 to recognize all the things that students have been doing around diversity, equity, and inclusion in their curriculum, in their programming, in their performances, in their community outreach, to kind of give them a platform and celebrate what they're doing. So this is a little slide talking about those events from 2021. We have connections with people like Imani Wins, who came back to work with us and do a legacy of Richard Greener. If you've seen that statue outside of the Cooper Library, we had virtual events for that. And of course, the group I talked about before, Brighter Beginnings, is led by Nigel Gant. I think he's a senior now, and so he got together and they produced a program, and it's actually still on YouTube right now. But they were able to, hire fellow musicians in the School of Music and across campus and actually produce something. So if you're interested in programming something from the NLK season next year, just let me know. You can bring a band together, spoken word. They had a smoke machine, dancers, all kinds of stuff that they did themselves and had the support of the DEI on campus. So a lot of student involvement and activities involved, but I want to do a little break from my talking. One more event, I forgot this one. This is more recent. So oftentimes when things happen, people have responses. They want to do a public statement. But when the Asian American community was attacked in Metro Atlanta back in 2021, our students said, we don't just want a statement. You can do a statement, it's great, but we want to do more than that. So after we had a statement written, they did a roundtable maybe a couple of weeks after that, and they said, what else can we do? And so last year, on the memorial of those attacks, we had a series of events. We had a Together concert that was featuring compositions by Asian American, Pacific Islander composers. We also had faculty, staff, and students who performed those things right in this room for that concert. So it was a great concert. They was performing all over the room. Some people were crying. It was very powerful. We had community members coming out. And so we had that on in the midweek, and then at the end of the week, we did a roundtable with our concert master from the Philadelphia Orchestra, David Kim. So those are some of the things we are doing, but oftentimes it comes from what students want. It's not faculty saying we should do this, or the dean saying we should do this. It's students coming to us and say we want to do this, and we just say, well, what can we do to help you do it? This Together concert was produced by students. Professor Jenkins kind of helped them make sure all the lights were where they're supposed to be, and the programs were made, but by and large, they produced it, they programmed it, they came up with the program notes and all those types of things, and that was something that we like to support here in our DEI efforts. So I'm gonna bring up our fabulous student reps. They are very accomplished. They're gonna talk to you a little bit about their majors, who they are. They're very, they do a lot of things. It's also, they have been on the committee for 2 years? 2 years each, I think. They're about to rotate off, so think about if you want to join us. And also their experiences on the committee, and also what DEI means to them. So Leah, Jonathan, I think Jonathan was going first. Yeah, we put Jonathan on the spot. Come on, Jonathan Ritchie. Clap for him as he comes.
Hi, everybody. As she said, my name is Jonathan Ritchie. I am a senior here at the School of Music, but I'm also a sophomore in the nursing college. So I'm technically a double major in both Bachelor of Arts in trumpet, with a minor in European Studies and concentrations in research and community service, with the second major being in nursing. The reason why I love DEI is because I want to be the person that makes that change. I love talking with people, learning about their experiences, things they go through, my personal experiences, and being that person that's able to make that change for these people to better their experiences here in the School of Music as well as the university.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Leah Sneed. I am a third-year doctoral conducting student here at the University of South Carolina. And I am a trumpet player, and yeah, just really excited about what's to come and everything. The reason why DEI is very important to me as well because we get into a lot of spaces a lot of times where we feel like we are not welcome. As a matter of fact, I just had a job interview yesterday, and the campus did not look like me at all. So I just had to ask them, is there space here at this particular school for someone that looks like me, for someone that is interested in the things that I'm interested in? My research area is all DEI related, and that includes disability studies. And so, I just wanted to make sure, because not every place is going to be like this. South Carolina was not always like this, and so now we have this wonderful committee to help make things more equitable, not necessarily equal, because equal isn't equal for everybody. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that, we don't have to ask those type of questions. Is there space for someone that's like me here? Who wants to ask that? Who even wants to be worried about that? And that is the work that the DEI committee is actively doing, because we want everybody to automatically know where they are, or whatever space that they enter, that they are comfortable and that they are supported. Is South Carolina perfect? Absolutely not. Is the world perfect? Absolutely not. Is America perfect? Psh, yeah, right, okay? So, but the thing is, though, is that we want to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. And this committee absolutely helps. Like Dr. Johnson said, Jonathan and I are on our way out. So we want to make sure that we get some new people in that are going to absolutely help with making sure that the program is visible. I didn't really know, coming in, I didn't know that we had a DEI committee. I only knew about the new provost because I'm friends with the band director from the school where he just came from. That's how I found out that we had a new provost here, but it wasn't necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't necessarily pushed, by the school to get it out there. So we want to make sure that you all know that we are here. And like I said before, DEI, people think DEI is all about race. It is absolutely not all about race, okay? It's the most visible aspect of it probably, but it absolutely isn't. So I just want you guys to know that if you have any questions or any concerns or anything, we are all here to help you navigate that. Sometimes I know, being an undergrad, you're still trying to figure out how to navigate the world. It comes at you fast. One day you're living with your parents, and next day you're on your own, right? And so you have to kind of figure out how to do these things by yourself. But the thing about it is that you are not by yourself, and we are here for you, all right? Thank you.
I love it. As she runs off, she just got back from an interview last night. She was on tour last week. They are busy, but they are great. They speak well for you and with us about you guys. So very quickly, as she mentioned, a couple of things. Social Justice Awards. Leah is actually the last year's winner, the graduate student winner. We used to have one award, but we got so much great response from undergraduates and graduates. We have two, so that's the QR code. If you have a classmate or if you want to nominate yourself for this award, we have undergraduate and as well as graduate awardees for this. Leah is a former recipient, as well as a few people know Jalen Peak. Christian Folk was our first two runners. And so we've had several great projects. If you're doing anything with curriculum, performance, protest, engagement, composition, so any of those things that are related to, when we think about social justice, it's not just about just protesting. Of course, that's a part of it, but if any kind of activities, one of our recipients from last year was doing an accessibility fair for parents with children with special needs. And so they basically had an actual place where they can come and learn and play and touch instruments that actually were helpful, as opposed to they were sensory aware. And so that project, that student actually got funded with a Spark grant and actually organized it, GoFundMe a couple of the dollars as well. And we saw it as an important thing to honor and recognize. So that the deadline for nominations is next Friday. So if you have a classmate that you know is doing it, and as they say, kicking butt with DEI type stuff and social justice, please recommend them for these awards, or recommend yourself. We do take self-nominations. Also, I won't do too much about this because, of course, I'm going to probably send this slide to Professor Mechia for you guys. But here are our goals and guidelines, because people always ask, well, it's such a big issue, a big problem, big challenge. How can we actually tackle this thing that's been going on in this country for basically centuries? And as Leah mentioned, the forward progress is intentional. We're very intentional about what we do with DEI, especially in the School of Music. I do not believe in wasted labor, repaying dues, or wasted energy, or performative things that are just here for the moment. We want to have lasting change. We want to have a build. And a lot of that comes from actually being attentive to things, trying to improve these types of situations across the lines of diversity, making sure, as she said, we have equity and access, and as well as having campus support. So when you don't feel like you're the only person who's having issues, oftentimes you're not. More often than not, if you see something wrong, at least 3 or 4 people see something wrong as well. So we are a place where you can come and get your questions, answers, concerns heard in some cases. And we're taking ownership. We know we're not perfect. When I got here, I was hired 11 years ago. There were no full-time black faculty. I was the only one. There was one person who taught gospel choir, and he was over in another department, but it was just me. So I found that out on my first day of the job, coming to a faculty meeting and standing up and saying, no one in this room looks like me, and that was 11 years ago. And so fast forward, there are more faculty of color. There are 4 African-American faculty. We have several in the case of women increasing in a lot of areas. Leah's a trumpet player. You don't see a lot of women in band areas in those conductor positions. You don't see a lot of black women in some cases. So those are types of things we're trying to get happening here in our School of Music so we can truly be a flagship in our state and also in our nation. And we get there by engaging you guys. Also involving the faculty and not just selected individuals. So once again, when faculty see something, sometimes you guys tell a faculty something and they say, hey, we heard this is going on. What's going on? What can we do about it? That's how we heard about what was going on with the need to do something more for the Asian American community. Someone talked to another one of our faculty colleagues, and they said they are really hurting. We actually have someone in the building who was related to someone who was involved in those attacks. And so they got the message to us quickly. We were able to act because someone trusted the faculty member enough to say and share, this means something to me. And of course, tough conversations. We have them. Everyone's not going to be perfect. Everyone's not going to say the right thing, but we try to make a space and keep a space for people to learn and to get better in this case, and to improve and to want to do better. So once again, holding people accountable. We've done that. Can't tell you specifics, a lot of confidentiality, but when we see things or get things reported to us that are out of line, out of bounds, illegal, we get on it for the most part, because we know these things can have lasting impacts and lasting reverberations. So just know, oftentimes when people say nothing ever changes, or I said something and no one said anything, usually at this point, since I've been on this job, when things happen, we try to get on it. We try to get on it with honest answers, no pushback, no kind of slipping under the rug, because as we know, we're in a social media age. Everything that goes under the rug now is out on TikTok. And so we try to make sure if you have complaints or issues, or if you see something, oftentimes it's not things that's happening to you, it's something that you see happening to other people. And so oftentimes when we have change, it's when someone says, I don't like what I just saw. Dean Harding, I don't think that was right. Or Professor Johnson, I'm not sure that should have happened. And then we look and say, hey, you're right, it shouldn't have happened. Let's go figure out what we need to do. So for our purposes in our campus where we are right now, since you guys are first years, it's mainly figuring out where to go when you have to say something or you want to report something or you're not quite sure. And so this is our landing page. That's my email address. And of course, it's all the resources. You can actually, if you go to this website, you can kind of click through to see all the campus resources. I won't take you through the steps. I have like a little screen capture here, but the main one I want to point out is that incidents and bias form. When I first came here, we didn't have that. 5 years ago, when you clicked on something like that, it went through 15 different pages and it didn't work. And so now we have a brand new Title IX and ADA office. They're actually equipped to answer things a lot quicker, like within 24 hours. Ask you, call you. In some cases, if you report something and you don't want to put your name on it, they still take the report. They want to know what's going on. So these particular resources and click downs are very important to that. Other links, OMSA, the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs, all these different things listed here, our Safe Drone training program for our faculty and students, the Student Disability Resource Center, all those things are in that link, and they're very much a part of DEI. Veteran services, we have veterans in particular. We have a lot of veterans grants and support coming through right now, so definitely check that. And our LGBT peers advocates. And so all those things are in those resource links, and they're here. Your tuition pays for it, your fees pays for it, so you might as well check into and be aware of those things that we have out for you guys. Lastly, share your views. If you have questions, if you want to contact If you see this little click box, it goes to my email address. It doesn't go to some faraway thing, you know, off the campus. It goes right to my email box. And if you want to come by and chit chat, ask a question, you see something going on, something you would like to have happening here, send us that in that little box. And I think that's basically it. Oh, this is the bias report. So just to let you know, all kinds of things could be in this report. It could be the most extreme things like actual attacks or physical assaults and things like that, or somebody bullying. One big thing we've seen growing over the last couple of years is online bullying and stalking. And so we have a click down. If you see your friend getting stalked by their partner or their ex-partner, report that. We never know what's going to happen. So oftentimes we get to stop a lot of things because someone said, I don't like how that guy's talking to her. He's showing up everywhere. He doesn't need to go here. Those reports are for that, and it gets our police officers mobilized really quickly, and they take it seriously. I had a student who had that issue where her friend was getting stalked, and she didn't come to class and said, I see this guy's bad news. We got in the chambers of making sure that she was protected, our class was protected, and the campus was protected. They do not play about those things, so we have a pretty good reporting system for getting right back at you. If you feel in immediate danger, or if you're not sure, they'll say, hey, let's talk through it and see if we're okay. So that bias report is very important for things, and in some cases, you just want to make it be known. You don't want to put your name on it. You don't want to report anything. We also take that as well because it helps us track what's going on, and even check in. If we get a certain number of reports, just say, hey, Dean Harding, we got a couple of reports. What's going on over in the School of Music? It's something we need to check on, something you need to check on, and they'll do that, and they're really good and responsive for that because we definitely want to make sure you guys are safe and healthy and having a great time and doing what you came here to do, which is to be great musicians and great educators. So I think that's my last slide. I'm going to stop there. Hot topics. You can take a picture of that. I'm going to send those links to Lauren if you want to read about some of the DEI things in the classical world and the music world, some good stuff there. We have some actual connections to some of those articles through some of the people who wrote those things. But other than that, thank you guys for sharing your time with us. We appreciate it. Keep looking out for more events. We're going to have one in March. I think March 31st is going to be a workshop for Daniel McCarthy is going to come here and do a workshop around, mostly around gender and gender expression and gender presentation. So for example, if someone is, has a non-traditional or a non-binary presentation, how do you go on a job interview? How do you act when you're in an actual, on campus, what you can do versus what you can do when you work in the Richland County school system or other school systems? If you see someone being bullied for those reasons, how do you help advocate for them? Or in some cases, our faculty, how do they help mentor and advocate for you guys if you are a gender expression or our gender performance is different from what we consider the so-called norm. And so we'll have a workshop for that in March on Friday, and it'll be virtual as well, so you can definitely attend that. Send your questions ahead of time, and we'll have a kind of a back and forth with Daniel McCarthy and myself. So I think that's all. I think we've got everything. You guys have a great weekend or a great Friday, and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, so next we have Lauren Epps from the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, so we're going to be super quick and speedy, but definitely changing gears a little bit. Want to tell you about another cool resource on campus and some of the things that we have to offer. Let me ask y'all this. Has anybody heard of SEAL yet? Ooh, okay. All right, good. This is good news. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we have in our office. Laszlo Folks is here. He's going to talk about the database that we have to find ways to get involved. We have money that we can give you, so we're going to talk about our grant opportunities. And then we're going to wrap up with graduation with leadership distinction, or GLD.
Okay, so in a nutshell, our office does a lot of different things to help you get connected to experiences outside the classroom. So that's a lot of what you're going to see here. One of the main ways that we want to do that, because like you just heard about the DEI committee and initiatives, there's a lot of opportunities across campus, and it might be really hard, especially as a first year, to know just where to look to find those things, right? So this is a one-stop shop database for all things outside the classroom, and you can somewhat see how it's organized here by kind of the window shopping categories, but a great place to start if you're just looking to connect with new people, find new opportunities, explore a hobby, that sort of thing. And here are some pictures of events that are included within that. So you can fully tune me out while I am rambling about what's in the database. If you want to scan that and peruse, feel free. There's a lot of different ways to search, like I said, by those categories, or you can also go for your college and department if you're looking for something specific within your area of study. And so a few different category highlights. We have different internships, jobs, opportunities to get experience for the workplace as a future professional, and some example engagements there. We have educational support. So instead of you having to be an expert in the Student Success Center and Leadership and Service Center, we pull from all these different entities and house them in one place. So if you're looking for tutoring, class notes, that sort of thing, you can start here and then hopefully find where you need to go and sign up. And then if you're looking for research opportunities, that's another one of those categories. They're organized by different experiences, commitment levels, and opportunities for approval, so you can kind of dig into what's available there as well. And get paid for it, which is great. So I'm just going to quickly kind of roll through what is involved in the spring opportunities. Like I mentioned, there's some really easy, low-stakes ways to just connect and meet other people. And maybe you want to go a step further and provide something to the community, right? You might have a skill or an experience or just an area of interest that you think you could donate something to the community. So you could find a service Saturday and just drop by. If it's the worst thing ever, you never have to show up again, and nobody's none the worse, right? Or if it's great, maybe you take on an additional partnership with that volunteer organization. Find something that works for you. You can also find something that's a little bit higher stakes commitment, higher impact, up to a full-time internship. And then if you just want to explore, like we said, you're newer to campus here and newer to the area, so just finding and sampling a bunch of different things from across campus. If you already have a lot of experiences within music and you're looking to diversify a little bit, maybe you want to meet some friends and go to opportunities hosted by other colleges or departments too. And then planning ahead is always very, very useful, right? You're looking forward to graduation, possibly applying to grad school or a job, and a lot of times we need letters of recommendation, referrals, those sorts of things. So if you're able to leverage this database and get familiarized with faculty and staff from your department, you can form those relationships early and make sure that you build up those connections, right? So one thing I'll pause just on terms of the literal engagements within the database is when you click on them, you'll see these bullet points for most of what's in the database. And this will help you get a sense of how you can get credit for participating in some of these things. So we know that they're valuable just inherently because they give you more insight about yourself and your direction, but we also want to help you get credit for it in a variety of ways once you're on campus. So Lauren will talk a little bit more about that as it pertains to GLD, but keep an eye out for the GLD bullet point and which pathway it relates to, and then if it says option to appear on U of SC Experience Extended Transcript, and I'll kind of go over what that is in just a second. Just more examples of opportunities within the database. Chances to be successful, demonstrate leadership within your area of study, and then just really kind of working towards those high impact opportunities. So we say in the database there's no right or wrong place to start. If you want to start at something where you can drop by and then immediately vacate if it's not your scene, that's great, because it'll keep informing you about what you find valuable and what you don't. And we just hope that as you spend your time here, you kind of work up to these higher impact opportunities too. So, I just want to highlight the transcript really quickly. Has anyone seen this before? Might have heard USC co-curricular transcript or extended transcript. Okay, so this is a tool that a lot of universities are starting to pilot, but USC is kind of on the forefront of. And this is a way that you can get credit for opportunities that you demonstrate success or leadership in outside the classroom. So typically when you graduate, you get your standard diploma and transcript, your major, your GPA, and that's kind of the whole thing, right? But it doesn't really paint a full picture of your time at university. And this one allows for you to capture individual other experiences that you can essentially brag about yourself when you're taking it to apply for that job or for that grad school. So I know it's really, really small up there, but you can see things like a research program, a study abroad, executive board on a student organization, even something like an intramural sport is captured up there because you're committed, you're involved in the community in some way. Capstone projects, internships, jobs, those sorts of things. And what's really cool about this is that you don't really have to do anything other than participate in it to get credit. Because they're tracking your participation, your grade, if there's a grade associated with it. But essentially, you will just go into your records and build the transcript that you want based on what you're using it to apply for. So maybe you want to pluck a bunch of different executive board roles, but not this internship that's not really relevant, right? So you can build 10 different versions of that, send it as many places as you want to be kind of useful and personalized to you. I know that was a lot about the transcript, but any questions on the database or transcript yet? All right, awesome. I'll breeze over this slide, but this is how to take the records and turn it into a transcript, which I know these slides will be shared with you, so feel free to use that. And then our hope with the database and transcript, just try something, right? Find something, grab some friends, drop by, or maybe find something that's a little bit higher commitment and just try it out and see how it goes. And now for the much easier so, a lot of these things that you find in the database, let's say study abroad, for example, those are fairly expensive, right? Or maybe you find a conference that you want to present at and that has registration fees and travel fees. So we want to have students be aware that not only are there great opportunities across campus, but even if they cost money, we have a grant that can help you participate in that. So it's called the Carolina Engage Grant. And again, it's for participating in a beyond the classroom opportunity. Most often we've had hundreds and hundreds of students apply to knock out a flight for a study abroad, or even get professional clothing for an unpaid internship, or gas reimbursement to travel somewhere for a conference, right? So you can kind of get a sense for the things that people request money for, because again, we know they're valuable, but they also sometimes cost money, and we don't want that to be a barrier for anybody here. So if you're thinking about an opportunity, not sure if it would really relate to this grant, you can reach out at any point to our office, and we can kind of help you complete the application that works for your experience. And very, very quickly, so the eligibility requirements, most important thing, you can request up to $500, right? And so the eligibility is just that you're a full-time undergraduate student here, that you have a 2.2 cumulative GPA or higher, and that it must be for a beyond the classroom experience. And then on the back end, the way that we kind of get our submission requirement for this is to have you complete a reflection, tell us how the experience went, how it might impact your future, and then we will reimburse for up to $500, right? Pretty simple process and a great way just to make these experiences more possible. Any questions on the grant? All right, and you can again reach out at any point. We're happy to answer questions individually too. And with that, I'll pass it off to Lauren for GLD.
Fabulous, thank you. Okay, so I saw some hands go up when we asked about SEAL, if you've heard of us. Does that mean that you've also heard about GLD? Yeah? Awesome, this is good news. So some of this may be a refresher, but some of this may be new for you. If you are thinking about getting involved on campus, maybe using the Carolina Engage Grant for some of those experiences, and then you're thinking, how am I gonna record these things in a way that makes me look really good on my resume or in those job interviews and grad school interviews? What's gonna make me stand out in that competitive job market? This can be a thing for you. So we are an official academic distinction, just like graduating with honors. It's recognized on your diploma, so it'll say your name with leadership distinction. It'll go on your transcript, and you get the really cool garnet black and white cords to wear at graduation. We think that we are the only garnet black and white cords on campus, so if you're looking for some Carolina spirit at commencement one day, this is the way to get them. But really, we want to acknowledge, like Laszlo said, not just getting good grades while you're here. We want to acknowledge and highlight and recognize you for all of the things that you do while you're in college. And so graduation with leadership distinction is a great way to do that. You do not have to be the president of a club to be in graduation with leadership distinction. You don't have to have the perfect position or, positional authority to be in graduation with leadership distinction. There's actually a lot of ways that you can do it. So we call them pathways. So there are 5 of them. You can choose the pathway for you that makes the most sense with what you're interested in and what you're involved with. So if you're really passionate about community service, there's a pathway for you. If you are really interested and jazzed about what we were just talking about with DEI, go check out the diversity and social advocacy pathway. If you want to study abroad, maybe use some grant funding, go look at the global learning pathway. That is also a great fit for our international students because this is your study abroad experience, right? Being here at USC. Professional and civic engagement is our pathway for students with peer leadership experience, like being a U101 peer leader or an SI leader. Also for students with internship and work experience. And then the research pathway, which is pretty self-explanatory. We believe there's something for everybody, right? There's a lot of different things on there. There's 6 requirements to earn GLD. You can start them now. So you don't have to be graduating to earn GLD. You just officially earn it when you graduate. But you can work on it all 4 or 5 or 2 years, however long you're gonna be here. It can really extend across your time and you can work towards the requirements. So the first one's a 3.0. We want you to have that GPA just because it is an academic distinction. There's a core experience, which is like your time on task. So doing the community service or doing the research, whatever your pathway is. We have some enhancement activities, some ways to kind of round out your pathway, usually experiences that you would find in our database. There's a coursework component, usually things that are fulfilled by your major requirements. So you don't have to take extra classes just to earn GLD, but there is a coursework component. And then there's 2 senior year culminating projects, and that's what I'll show you. So I won't spend a ton of time on these, but I know you'll get the slides. So there's a lot of numbers up here you can check out later about what the core experience looks like, those enhancement activities, the coursework, and then those last 2 that I mentioned. So the presentation is one of our senior year culminating projects for GLD. Most of the time, students will present at Discover USC. It looks like this. So it happens every April. I would encourage y'all to check it out if you get a chance. It's that last Friday of classes, and it's a great way to see what students are up to on campus and to really see how proud they are of their accomplishments, right, and how they get to talk about it in a professional way. So you get to make one of these posters about one of your cool experiences that you are having or will have while you're here at Carolina, and you get to talk about it, and people will come by and ask you questions. Like I said, it's a great way to practice articulating what you've done and what you've learned in a professional way. The other project is an e-portfolio. And I don't know, maybe you had experience with this in high school where you actually got to build a website kind of highlighting the things that you've done, but it's a great way to reflect back on all the things that you've done in your courses, in your experiences, and put them together. Our office name is the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning. Integrative learning is what the ePortfolio is all about, making connections between your courses and your experiences, and thinking about how you've grown and changed through your time here. And obviously it's a website, right? So it's an ePortfolio that you get to take with you after graduation, to put on your resume, to put on your LinkedIn, to show your grandma. However you want to use that is up to you, but we know that employers really like seeing these. There's an example here you can check out later. Our website also has a ton of example ePortfolios you can look at. If you're thinking ahead super far in the future, there are methods to support you in the ePortfolio process. It's a lot of work to make one of these, so we do offer a course to provide support and accountability and feedback throughout that. All right, quick show of hands. I think I have just a few minutes. I do. Why might someone want to do GLD? Like, what are you thinking? What are some benefits? Just yell it out.
Looks good on the resume.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, making connections. You don't often have to do that unless you're forced to, right? So this is a great way to force you into making some good connections.
Builds character.
Builds character. Yes, it does. Anything else?
It's fun. Checking what you did.
It's fun, and it helps you keep track of what you did. Yeah, absolutely. All of those things. We polled some previous GLD students. This is what they told us. It's really helpful, that reflection process, right? It's not a natural thing that we do, so having to sit down and reflect on your time at Carolina is a great skill to build. It does look good on a resume. It helps you practice interview confidence, right? So you get that piece. You get the ePortfolio product to take with you after graduation to help you look more professional, to practice your creativity in writing and in speaking. There's all these different benefits to GLD. There's also some data to back this up. So this came from the Collegiate Employment Research Institute a couple years ago now, but we know that employers are not just looking for the perfect GPA or the right major, right? They want to know if you have the experience to do the job and do the job well. So 78% of employers agreed that they want the practical sense and the ability to do the job, not just how you look on paper, but can you talk about what you did and what you learned from it, right? 83% said they're looking for that something extra in their candidate pool to set you apart from someone else. And we think GLD can help be that something else for you, to help you get hired over someone else. Right now, the number is about 7% of every graduating class at Carolina earns GLD. So just earning GLD helps put you at the top, right? 7%. So if you're sold, or if you're just like, I want to know more, we do have some next steps. There's an application process that you can start right now, or you can start it in your junior or senior year. It doesn't matter. Just get on the radar whenever you're curious and come and meet with us. That is our biggest takeaway, is we have a team of advisors who can meet with you and chat about GLD, answer questions, make a game plan for your specific situation with your major and your experiences, so we can talk about how to make GLD work for you. There's our website and our information, but can we answer any questions for you? All right, Power Hour with GLD.
Thank you all so much for talking with us today. All right, thanks everybody. See you next time. The card swiper on this side is working, last I checked.